Well, hello everyone, and I am here. And I hope to see you all piling up soon, lining up, and that we can have some kind of a discussion. And let me get my sound ready. Hello to everybody. I see everybody's is here. I'm going to try to make this video in the series I used to do that was called Catch Up with Mayo. And that means I'm going to try to let it stay as a video, depending on how it goes. I thought I would do that. So it's going to be a little different from the kind of chats that I usually do, where we're just kind of doing a free for all and anything goes, and we're just like hanging out like in high school, which is fine anyway. Still be comfortable, but let's see how we do as far as questions and things like that go. And it doesn't have to all be questions, but so there's no topic in particular, you know. And if I miss any of your comments, please feel free to write them again because there's going to be a lot of them. There's already quite a few. There's like 33 people right now, and I just hope I don't miss anybody. So, okay. So, let's see. And as you see, I have this microphone on today, and the main reason I do this is to keep some of the outside sounds that permeate around here out of the way, and I don't have to strain and talk too loud into the microphone here on the camera. That's another reason. Okay, Elvis Freak wants to know, do I have any new Elvis or Beatles finds? I do have some, but of course I'm going to save them for when I make the videos. And, I do the different finds that I have. And also, back to the microphone, like I said, in addition to not having to strain as much to make myself more loud, there's a whole bunch of other reasons why it's good. I talked about the ambient noise in the back. Oh, I'm reading comments now. Okay. So there's all kinds of things people are writing, but none of them really anything to repeat right now. Yes, it is a late night for the girlfriend. The girlfriend will be home late tonight. What Beatles sound? Scott Campbell wants to know what Beatles sound is most overplayed, underplayed, especially on Sirius. Any of the big songs, Hey Jude, Let It Be, Long and Winding Road, Blackbird, mostly Paul McCartney songs, but John, you also have to hear Come Together All the Time and Strawberry Fields Forever, and so on and so on and so on. So, as far as underplayed, there aren't too many Beatles songs that are underplayed, especially on Sirius XM, because they get around to all of them eventually. Uh, I still say the most underplayed are some of the solo songs, and in particular, the more unknown songs. Not it's always either Imagine or Band on the Run or Photograph and My Sweet Lord. I see we got a lot of people popping in. Amber's here. Cherry Carter is here. Beetle Vinyl 85. A lot of people. I can't really name everybody. I got up to 55 people now. I do have the album Thrillington James. I don't have the original. I'd like to get the original. I have the colored vinyl one. You know. Yeah, and we do hear Only You. Connor says Only You is always on the Beatles channel. What Beatles song do I never get sick of? Well, there's a bunch of them. Some of the lesser played ones I never get sick of. I'll Get You. I never get sick of Not a Second Time. Never get sick of You Can't Do That. Stuff like that. I'm Down. I mean, stuff that you don't hear all the time, obviously. So, worst song on the Rotogravure album. Well, I'd have to think about that one. I can't think of them all right now. Wasn't there Spooky Weirdness? If that counts as a song, I think that's the album that's on. The most overrated solo Beatles album. You named Flowers in the Dirt. That to me, that's overrated. I know that's not a popular feeling, but that's how I feel about it. That is an overrated one. Um, a lot of people really like that, and I think it's okay. I always think of the album Flowers in the Dirt as a stepping stone for Paul. I always say that, kind of like getting back into being himself, being Paul, getting some good stuff, but still he had a ways to go. I thought he got there when he did. By the time he did Flaming Pie, I thought he had gotten there. uh, and then Jill wants to know how do I think Double Fantasy compares to John's other solo albums, artistically, songwriting, sound production, somewhere in the middle, near the bottom, best. These days, I think it's one of John's best. Double Fantasy. At the time, when I was a lot younger, I didn't think it was one. I was kind of a little disappointed, like a lot of people were. But now I think the production is great on it. I think John's voice is fantastic. He sounds great on it, and it's got classics on it. I mean, Beautiful Boy, uh, Watching the Wheels, and Woman. Those three alone are now, I think, able to be considered John classics. So I'd put it near the top right now. So. There's a lot of things I'm looking for, Stephen. 1970. Uh, but they're expensive. A lot of the things I'm looking for these days. Um, you can try Man with No Expression, but I can't be sure I can answer technical instrument questions. It's not really. It's not my taste for sure. Starman wants to know. P.S. Love Me Do. Hate it or hate it. Hate. It's one of the worst things Paul ever did in my estimation. But I like it better than probably Get Enough. If that if that means anything. Press to play. Nathan Strong wants to know. Well, these days, I think I tolerate press to play better than I used to. It's been a while since I gave it another spin, and eventually, I think I'm gonna appreciate it more. There's more songs on it I think I like today than I did at the time in the '80s, and even with subsequent playings after that into the decades. I think that I actually have come to appreciate it more now than I used to, but it's still never going to be one of my favorites, I don't think. Thoughts about Walking on Thin Ice? I think it's a great, great song. I think it's one of the greatest things Yoko ever did, if not the greatest. And I know there's not many we can say with regard to Yoko, but I just think it was a successful dance track, and I think it really suited the times, and I think it really is a lot of fun, that song. Best song on a hard day's night, though, is I can't think about that right now. Probably the title track. You can't do that. Can't buy me love. I think I did a review thing where I rated them, but Scott Campbell, Spies Like Us, I think is underrated. The song. A lot of people get on it because of the lyrics. It's easy to jump on. Ooh, what do you do? No one else could dance like you. But I get into the energy of it and the guitar of it and the rocking sound of it, especially later in the song. I mean, I like the grungy. I don't know. I call it grungy. The tough sound of it in places. I wish I could tell you, Marv. Marv wants to know my prized possession as of right now. It's always going to be my Paul McCartney autograph, I suppose. I give the same answers all the time. What do I think of Frankie and Johnny by Elvis? I watched all Elvis's movies, and I'm very forgiving of a lot of them. I don't pick on them like a lot of people do. I have fun with them for what they are. But having said that, Frankie and Johnny is one of the worst. I think. I don't think much of the music in that movie or the movie. Good evening. Constantly wonder what John would say about modern rap and hip hop. Well, there's no way to know. He might be accepting of it. He might think it's terrible. Have I ever come across the White Album distributed to radio stations with the track listing on the front? Never saw that before. I'd like to come across it. Most prized 12 and 7-inch record. Can't think of it that fast. Mark P, what do I think of the number of releases of Egypt Station? I'm of two minds on it. On the one hand, I say it's a cash grab. Paul, it's ridiculous. Paul went too far. This is so stupid. How many do we need, copies of Egypt Station do we need? Then the other part of me says, well, you know what? He's not forcing us to buy any of them. At least they're out there, and you could free to buy all of them or none of them. So I have two feelings on it. Can I make a video series with all my Beatles LP collections? Well, the way I look at that, Adam, is I kind of look at it as if you watch my videos from the beginning and go back, as I've gotten each one, I've made videos of Beatle finds. So if you watch all my Beatle finds videos, you'll see them. What Elvis film do I think had the best plot? Well, the first one I want to say is King Creole, and I also think the plot of Jailhouse Rock is good. I also think the plot of Flaming Star. Those are the main ones. Yeah, I wonder what John would have thought of CDs too. I think he would have liked them. I think he would have liked them. Yes, Wayne. I was in Slip Disc many times in the old days. That store, but of course it doesn't exist anymore. And I'll even tell you, I went into that store the day that they opened. The day that Slip Disc opened, I actually went in on the first day, and that was 1982 in March. And I walked in there as a youngster, and I asked if they need any help, and they jokingly said, "Not yet. You know, they just opened up." So there's a little story for you there. Yes. Sika's reminded me he wanted me to do a Wings slash John top five underrated. Uh, Underrated is easy, but I'm trying to do more than just underrated. I'm trying to do, you know, songs that are maligned. Underrated is a lot of underrated, but how many of them are really maligned? You know. Tanner Johnson. The thing about Julian and Sean doing an album together, that's something I think the fans want them to do more than they want to do. Although I don't know, they're very close as brothers. Maybe they would, but I was thinking in terms of the Beatles sons thing. You know, get Danny in there. You know, everybody always says get James in there and all this, and I don't see that ever really happening. Wink 55. What would John have thought about uh podcasts? That beats me. Who knows? Caitlin is here. Caitlin Larkin. A.B. Munster. And everybody knows by now that A.B. Munster is my friend Anthony. And I've asked him to just change his name to Anthony. But that's him. So, and as I say, this is not so much just a free for all where we just goofing off like we like to do. This is more like questions. It's easier to do the other ones. This is a little bit more pressured, I think. And I think after I stop this, we'll have a regular one if you'd like too. We'll just have fun throwing things out all over the place. We can still do some of that now. This doesn't have to be strict. Was the song Venus and Mars about Paul and John? A lot of times I think, not that I know of, by the way, but a lot of times I think fans love to think that the Beatles are thinking about each other all the time, just the way we love them. But I don't think that they half the songs that fans think may be referencing them are truly songs with the other Beatles in mind. I don't think so. Yeah, a lot of people say they can hear me much better with the headset. I don't like it because it bothers my hair. I tried to style my hair for this event. And, you put this on and forget it. Um, oh, so Julian said it was. Oh, that's Amber says that Julian was on the Fab Forum last week, which I missed, and he spoke about he and Sean working together like it was very probable. I like that. I like that. I'd like to be wrong on that. Do I think Let 'Em In is a good song? I love Let 'Em In. I love silly love songs because basically I grew up with it. It was a big hit in the summer of '76 when I just heard Let 'Em In the other day and I was in heaven because, in addition, it's a fun song. It's stupid, yeah. Simple lyrics, yeah. but it's fun. It's catchy as hell, and it reminds me of being 14 years old again, in a car with my family and cousins and everything, going to the beach on a summer's day, and everybody had their transistor radios out, and you'd be going into the waves, and you'd be coming out, grabbing a snack, sitting on the blanket, and you'd be listening to Let 'Em In on the transistor radio, and Silly Love Songs, and Diana Ross's Love Hangover, and Turn the Beat Around by Vicky Sue Robinson, and so on from '76. So, do I like the Yoko song "Don't Worry, Kyoko"? It's not one of my favorites, but I tell you, over the decades, I've gotten to like the instrumentation on it, the guitar on it, and stuff. So I can listen to it for that. When people ask, like, do you think John would have done this or that? It's hard, how do we know for sure? Do I like? There's no way of knowing. Like, do I know? Do I think that John would have guessed it on Venus and Mars, the album, if he visited Paul in New Orleans? Who knows? At that particular point, I would say no. Not yet. They weren't ready yet. But supposedly, the old wives' tale, they were ready to do Venus and Mars, but Yoko put a stop to it. John and Paul together again. I don't buy into that. But that's another story out there. I actually have never heard Yoko's Plastic Ono Band album, even though I have it here, and I've had it for years. That's some. I mean, I heard a few tracks of it. Don't get me wrong. I've heard like moments of it, but I've never played the whole thing all the way through. Never came across a promotional box full of goodies from '79 to promote Back to the Egg. But since I love the album, I'd love to get that, see that. When you say the mic is tough to get used to, do you mean the audio or the visual? Who would be a good addition to Ringo's All Star Band? I always said I'd like to see Peter Noon, maybe Mickey Dolenz. Hello, Elliot's here. Yes, that is correct, Anthony. Yoko is in a wheelchair. She's been in a wheelchair for a while now. Eric Carmen was already there, for what that's worth. Eric Carmen was at the All Star Band. Hello, Wes. Wes made me the Beatles A to Z. I'm loving it. Sometimes I get frustrated because I'll hear a rare song like Ringo's "Who Needs a Heart" with W, and then other songs I'd be like, well, why didn't he put this or that on? It's all subjective, I guess. But honestly, the only thing is, most of the discs, Wes, when I hear them, by the time I'm near the end, three-quarters of the way through, they get that scratchy sound, and I can't listen to the whole disc. I don't know why. But I mean, I really enjoy the effort. I wish all of them played good. It's not every disc. It's most discs, but not every disc. Haven't gotten a Z yet. I did up to W. I don't think "Oh Yoko" John's song is a throwaway to the general fans. I think they like it, most of them, but they don't like the subject. Of course, most people don't like Yoko. But the song that I think is more of a throwaway is "Dear Yoko" uh, from Double Fantasy. Personally, I mean, if I had time, back to Ringo and his all-star band, if I had more time to think a little bit about it, I would think of a lot more people that could go with Ringo's all-star band. I know I'm just tired of seeing this particular incarnation. It's been around since 2012, I think. It's like 7 years or something like that. Elliot mentions "Listen, the Snow is Falling" by Yoko. It's a beautiful song. It is a gorgeous song, and I don't give a damn what anybody thinks of Yoko. It's a beautiful song, and also, I know my friend Anthony here was surprised. He listened to it. He likes it. Hello, Marissa. Can't come up with a favorite John Lennon song. It's impossible. But I did pick "Instant Karma" as maybe his best single. It's one of the, you know. And there's Anthony thinking that Paul's going to go with the All Star Band. Come on, Anthony, and all you people out there that still want it to be the Beatles. Will you forget about it? The Beatles are done. They're finished. Everybody, oh, why can't Paul and Ringo? Let Paul join Ringo's all-star band. Are you crazy? Come on, Anthony. The Rock and Roll Circus by the Rolling Stones, Mark P. wants to know. I like that. I know, I think Mick for a long time wasn't happy with his performance, but I like his performance, and I've seen that. I think it's a pretty good show. I enjoy it. It's too bad that Brian Jones is wasted and completely like a waste of time, unfortunately. Yeah, Mind Games. Phil mentions Mind Games for John. That's one of my favorites all the time. AB Munster, Anthony says, I'm just kidding about the Paul thing. Well, it's not the time to kid. This is a serious discussion. So, what do I? Adam Jackson wants to know, what do I look more forward to? Let It Be movie or the Abbey Road 50th anniversary? I'll tell you, I want to skip through past Abbey Road to get to Let It Be. I am really excited to think what they're going to do to Let It Be, to see the original film restored from 1970, and also to see the new Peter Jackson film. So I'm really excited for that. You know, Wink 55. I never to Born to Boogie. I didn't see that one with Mark Bolan and Ringo, but I've seen clips of them together, either in the movie or promoting it or something. Kit O'Toole is here. Hey, Kit, I want to say have a great vacation. I hope you're having a great time. I know it started off a little weird. You were talking about on Facebook when you tried to enjoy yourself. Yeah, like, oh, like, awesome. Yeah. Those girls that you were stuck next to, I know. On the beach. Kit was on the beach and she was relaxing, and she got a bunch of like kids going, yeah, those girls, oh, like totally, yeah, and talking about how like one girl was saying something about, I'm gonna be getting married, and like at my wedding, I don't want any fat people there, so maybe they could like Photoshop out the singer because the singer's like fat. Anyway, I hope I didn't put you on the spot, kid. I thought that was funny. Anyway, the best Yoko song on Sometime in New York City. I go with I like Yoko songs on Sometime in New York City, but I think I like Sisters Oh Sisters best. I think We're All Water is a lot of fun. With a lot of Yoko questions here. I'm surprised. Nobody could hear me doing slight belching with this mic, right? Yeah, very slight. Favorite L7 Casanova, favorite late night host. You mentioned David Letterman. I always liked David Letterman. Johnny Carson, I thought was a bore. To be honest with you, I thought he was kind of boring. I mean, that's a sacrilegious. I mean, I was he was okay. Not deadly, but was I ever an owner of pets in the past? It's not a stupid question. I actually was, but it was always cats. I'm a cat person. Back in the old days, we had cats. Sure. Jay Leno. Jay Leno was fun. Jay Leno seems like a nice guy and pretty much fun. I have not attended any of Yoko's art exhibitions. No, 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 no. Oh, we're up to 91 people here. Oh my, this is fast and furious. Now we got to see if we get to 100. I think I've hit 100 before. I bounce around Facebook a little bit, but I'm not that much. Not that much really. I know, being silly, but we still have to get questions. I guess that's the only bad thing about it. People have to come up with questions. The idea, folks, is that, as I said in the beginning, for those just tuning in, that I'm going to try to maybe leave this as a video, depending on how it goes, because I usually erase them. But do I play any instrument? Not a musical instrument, but no. Cry for a Shadow. I love Cry for a Shadow. I think that's a really great instrumental. I just wish it had its original title, which was Beetle Bop Some of you may not know that, but Beetle Bop was I believe, the original title. I don't know if it's Mark Lewison who broke that news or not, but I seem to associate it with Mark Lewison for some reason. Uh, I enjoy Hendrix's version of Sergeant Pepper, and of course, it's really impressive that he actually learned it and did it so fast and all that. Yes, I do play a little bass. Somebody said to me, Tanner Johnson says, "Don't you play a little bass?" And I said, "Yeah, I do play a little bass, and that's about it right there." So, George, yes, I absolutely. I'm going to be doing some Mean Mr. Mayo merchandise. I don't know exactly when. I keep saying either at the end of this year or sometime next year, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to get Mayo T-shirts and maybe buttons too. Uh, so, hello Ben. Hello Ben from Nashville. Favorite pressing of Revolver? Well, that's one example, first of all, where I do prefer the British version. I'm always defending the Capitol Records, but of course, any of the UK style. And I like the pressing. That's because it's unusual with Tomorrow Never Knows being different. Marv can tell me, or anybody here right now, is that the mono pressing, U.S. mono pressing, or stereo? There's like one pressing, special pressing that has a different revolver on it, but I think different Tomorrow Never Knows on it. Mail, fan mail? Well, I would guess to the record store, Infinity Records. You know, is a good place. Marissa, have I ever run into fans before? I only ran into them at two places. One of them, the Fest for Beatles fans. Obviously, when I'm at the Beatles Fest, I meet a lot of people that watch me. But also at the record store, and a record show. I mean, I was at a record show once. If I go to a record show sometimes, record shows, record store, and obviously, that's the only where else would they even know me from? Papa Luco, I did not hear the Ramones box set by Rhino Records. I hear you, Brian. He's 66 years old and he was there. Brian Dunn says he was there for every LP release and loved every song. Age has to do with being more tolerant of lesser songs. I think so. I've always been tolerant of all the Beatles songs, pretty much. Funny, like the least ones I'm tolerant of now are the ones that are so overly played and too popular. Yes, I'm sorry. I'm reading a lot of your comments and I appreciate them, but there's just not something I can say with regard to all of them. So I'm reading every comment, though. It's not easy. From the Evelyn Wood. Remember Evelyn Wood speed reading? Well, that's what I'm doing here. Is there a fest for Mayo fans? I don't think so, Mark. Hey, you know what? Your name is Mark, just like Mark Lapidos. You want to organize one? Maybe make the fest for Mayo fans. We can have like maybe like 20 people there. Mouth is very dry. There's a lot of talking with this many people. My famous green cup. I'm going to take this with me wherever I go. Kid O'Toole's going to go to Mayo Fest. Don't forget Kid O'Toole. She does a lot of things, though. You know what I mean? She's on vacation now. I don't want to like bombard her with a lot of stuff. But don't forget Talk More Talk, among other things, where I was so happy to be a guest host. And hey, congratulations, kid. The subs are going up. Amber would go to Mayo Fest and wear the shirt. That's pretty cool. A lot of people. I'm surprised. Like you think about making. The fest is held in Chicago. Well, I'd have to be there, Mark. If you did Mayo Fest in Chicago, I'd have to be there. But I was saying, when you think about making T-shirts of yourself, you think, who the hell is going to wear a picture of me? But it's hysterical that there's people that'll do it. So yeah. Oh, thanks, Kit. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I hope I can get on Talk More Talk again. That was so much fun. Helen Shapiro fan. I don't know enough about Helen Shapiro except playing with the Beatles. Other than that, as far as my shirts being available, I haven't done anything with them yet. Hopefully, I keep saying by the end of this year, by the time the year is out, maybe for the holidays, or maybe beginning of next year. Let's see. Excuse me, folks. Beatle people community, exactly. Which Beatles song would I recommend to someone who never heard any music by the Beatles? One song? Gee, that's hard to say. What? That's a good question, though. What one song, if nobody ever heard the Beatles, would you have them hear? Maybe Let It Be. It depends who they are. If they like heavier music, I'd say Helter Skelter. You know. What do I think about the Google Help commercial, John Alelo? Uh, it's not bad if it helps people, younger people, discover the Beatles. And it's not too bad if they don't play it very often. If they play it for years and years and years, I'm afraid that people are going to get mentally associated with that song with Google. As I always say, when I was a kid, they played "Good Vibrations" by the Beach Boys for "Sun-Kissed Oranges." To this day, I think of oranges every time I hear "Good Vibrations." So that's the only thing I don't want. But in order to have an association like that, you really have to play it a lot. Yosemite Sam. I'm not mean. I can be mean, but I only have that name because it's the name of a song. Mean Mr. Mustard is the name of the song, and I changed it to Mean Mr. Mayo. Is there a solo Beatles album I didn't like at first? Marv wants to know, but now I love it. Oh boy. Uh, I can't think of it that fast. I don't think so. Well, maybe Bad Boy by Ringo Starr. I really liked that album a lot, and at first I didn't think anything of it. Yeah, Kid O'Toole says at least the Google ad is not for toilet paper, which is true. A Mayo mug. I mean, how much stuff can you get? The upcoming film yesterday, Will asked me about. I'm looking forward to it. I don't expect it to be anything great, but it might be funny, might be a little humorous. And once again, if it winds up having enough songs by the Beatles in there to interest young people and turn them on to the Beatles, because I'm hearing so much about Queen lately because of that Bohemian Rhapsody movie, which I did not see and I don't care to see. I'd like to see the Beatles get some attention again. You know. I'm not drinking soda anymore, Annie. No, I didn't, George. I did not watch the Queen Adam Lambert documentary, but I did see that it was on. Did I ever think of doing a video about why I think the Beatles broke up? Well, no. I think everybody knows why. You know, it's a combination of things. They always said why. You know, I think it was basically them growing up, maturing and growing up and growing apart a little bit and becoming men. They were kind of like still. I don't want to say boys because everyone was. Oh, I thought you said they weren't a boy band. But name one song I like from the hip hop genre. Well, I don't know if I like any hip hop, but I will say that I did like. This is the closest thing that I can get to. I did like Rapper's Delight when I first heard it, and I do very much like Fight for Your Right to Party by the Beastie Boys. That's as close as I can get. L7, I have not seen the film Candy either with Ringo. Boy, I missed a lot of Ringo movies, but I know it's supposed to be a crazy film. Never saw To Sir with Love, the movie. Do I like the song Rapture by Blondie? Yes, I do. And I like that whole rap part. See, back then in 1980, rap wasn't overtaking the world and getting tired. Back then, I thought it was pretty cool what she was doing, that little rap bit in the middle, Debbie Harry, you know? And who knew that that was going to be every song for the next 40 years, you know? The Magic Christian, that was fun. I've seen that. I don't think it was great, but it was fun. The 8 Days a Week documentary. I enjoyed the 8 Days a Week documentary for what it was. I did not lace into it and criticize it so much for what it was not. Too many people out there, I think, were expecting it to be all live concerts and no real story or documentary. They wanted more live footage. But for what it was, I think it turned out pretty good. Who was hotter? Is that supposed to be hotter, Debbie Harry or Stevie Nicks? Uh, I'll go for Stevie Nicks, even though they're both up there. L7. I never saw The Family Way. See, that's the thing. You know, Paul scored the music, true, but I have no interest in seeing it really. BMX Seeker, the documentary that you're referring to, called "The Long and Winding Road," was something that even John Lennon talked about in 1974. You can see John on the Today Show talking about this Long and Winding Road movie. They were talking about putting a movie together while John was alive of all of them together. That became the anthology. It took them all that time, and it finally became what the anthology became. So I'm not really saying, hey, Corporal Cemetery. This is not a typical. See, the thing is, I only plan on doing this particular video, Corporal, for an hour. And if I spend the whole entire hour saying, hey, Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, Mr. D, all the way down to Z, I'm not going to be talking about anything else. So that's why I'm kind of not saying, hello, this is not a regular chat. Well, we can do that after this, if you like. So hopefully you just know where I'm coming from with that. I see a lot of names here that I've never seen before. I don't understand why. I hope these will all come back other times, not just during this one. Yes, Carl. Carl wants me to say hello to his friend. I'm going to say hello to his friend by banning you right now. How's that? You can't fool me. You think I'm born yesterday? Didn't Jeff Emmerich do remixes for the Long and Winding Road project? You're asking me? Kit? No, I don't. I don't know. I don't know. Marv got a laugh out of that. We could have a few laughs here too. Neil Innes. That's interesting. Neil Innes for the All Star Band. Yeah. Favorite girl band. There are many of them. The Bangles, the Runaways, the Go Go's, the Supremes. Go back. Forget every word I just said. The Supremes. The Supremes is my favorite girl band. Forget everything else I just said. Supremes are number one. How's Brad holding up? He's making videos, so he seems to be holding up pretty well. Check out his channel, Beetle Brad. Joey Molland is a good choice. For Joey Molland is a good choice back to Ringo's All Star Band lineup. Okay, we're gonna get Wink 55. Are we gonna get technical now? Supremes are a girl group, but not a girl band. Oh, excuse me. If it's a girl band, well then it's got to be the Go Go's, the Bangles, and the Runaways. probably. And I know they say Fanny. Yes, I've heard of Fanny also. That was the earliest, I think, right? Who do I think was the best drummer for Wings? I like so many of them. I want to say Steve Holly, but I mean I like Denny Sywell. I like them all. Joe English. Favorite mob movie? Public Enemy? Would you call that a mob movie? It's the first one that popped in my head. It might not be my favorite. It's hard with all these questions. Yeah, Kid O'Toole is torn between Steve Holly and Denny Sywell. It's tough. They're all good. Guitarist. I mean, I love Jimmy McCullough, man. I mean, what a waste. Favorite mod movie. See, kid, if you're watching, you can see a lesson here in what you got to go through when you get a lot of people on here one day. um, any updates on Paul's solo and Beatles Abbey Road? None of the above. Adam Jackson, the King of Pop Jr., is from Sweden. Hello. Wants to know how it feels to have fans all over the world. It's a great feeling. It's great. I wish I could meet them. Joe English, I've heard that he's into religion now. Is that true? Anybody know? Somebody said Tanner Johnson wants to know will Joe English ever go to a Beatle fest? And I don't know. Sometimes when people are getting really into religion, they don't do that. But never say never. I don't have a basement here. Never say never because there was I forget her name. I think Dana Kimmel. She starred in a Friday the 13th slasher film, and she became religious and said she'd never go to a Friday the 13th a horror convention, and she did. She started making appearances and signing autographs, so you never know. Okay, Amber, I didn't see. You said I reached 100. I didn't really notice that. So thanks for noticing for me because I didn't notice 100 viewers right now. But that's because I advertised that I was doing this. That's the only downside, when you advertise that you're going to have a chat in it well in advance, that gives heads up to a lot of the riffraff. That's the only downside. That's why I usually don't. Was Let It Be a big improvement on the original album? Not to me, it wasn't. I prefer actually. I always liked the Phil Spector version. I had never had a problem with the original Let It Be at all. There's some things I like on Let It Be Naked, but if push comes to shove, I prefer the original one. Beetle Vinyl 85 tells us, yeah, Joe English from Wings is into religion, but he can't play drums because of a knee issue or something, which is interesting. I didn't know that. Hoping I hit 1,000. Oh, it's 101 now. I can see it's 101. But the only bad thing is that there's a lot more comments to keep up with. James Byers says my idea of a horror convention would have been attending the sessions for Get Enough, the Paul song. That's funny. Yeah, I wasn't that thrilled with Let It Be Naked, but I do love the version of Don't Let Me Down. I love that part in the middle when John goes really exaggerated, like "Don't let me down," and he goes, "Please." I can't do it. I can't reach that high. I usually can do that. He does like a "please" in the middle of it. That's my favorite part of all of Let It Be Naked. That one moment is my favorite part completely. You know. Oh, it's calmed down a little bit here for a moment. Do I prefer? That's a good question. Do I prefer For You Blue or Old Brown Shoe? I like them both, but I think Old Brown Shoe's got the edge for me if I got to pick one. I usually don't like comparing songs, but sometimes it's fun, depending which two they are. Any news on when the Peter Jackson Beatle documentary is going to be released? No, no news, and I think we have to wait until 2020. Let's take care of Abbey Road first. I'm just presuming that it's going to be 2020 for Let It Be. Sorry, folks, that watching this. I'm just waiting for questions and things. Didn't George do the bass on Old Brown Shoe? That's what I hear, Jeff. That's what I hear. Hello, Julio. I'm doing pretty good. How are you? It's funny because George does a great bass, I think, on Old Brown Shoe, and Paul does great guitar. Maybe they should have switched. I love the Inner Light. Yeah, I enjoy the Inner Light song. When I was a kid, I really didn't think much about it. Favorite Beatles single, Marv wants to know. It's hard to say. It's probably She Loves You and I'll Get You. Sorry. Sorry. But I would say that also probably Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane. I mean, if I'm going to pick one, Hey Jude, Revolution, Strawberry Fields Forever and Penny Lane. But I think overall that would be the number one. But I also like She Loves You and I'll Get You. It can go on forever. The Beatles have so many great singles. Best moment on lead guitar. That's a good question. Would you say Get Back? I like John on lead guitar on Get Back. I like John on You Can't Do That. Um, that's a good question. I like that question. Never really thought about it. I'll take the girl from Uncle Kimba. I don't need the man from Uncle. No, but I'm not a fan of those shows. But I'd rather watch the girl from Uncle for obvious reasons. You can't do that. Matthew Smith thinks you can't do that. Is John's best moment. I saw that Marv thought it was Get Back also. Uh, I don't really know. I don't really know about the Now and Then song. If the third Beatles song by the so-called Threedles, I don't know if we're ever going to get that. Do I like the song "The Girl Can't Help It"? Yeah, I do like that. What's the one thing that's not in your collection that I want? Almost anything in your videos, Mr. Beatles Pro. No, I mean there's lots of things. The portrait cover. I want the portrait cover, VJ portrait cover original, not a bootleg. That's the first one that comes to mind. But there's so many things. A John Lennon autograph, a George Harrison autograph, first State Butcher cover. Some funny questions here. Corporal Cemetery says, "You said Paul was never cool, but didn't he reach the John levels of coolness when he did the frog chorus song?" That's pretty funny. There's times when Paul could be cool, don't get me wrong, but overall, cool was to me, cool wasn't a Paul thing. What do I think would have happened to the Magical Mystery Tour album if Penny Lane and Strawberry Fields Forever ended up on Pepper? Well, I don't have a clue for that one. Yeah. I'm going to miss the sacrifice. Doc Dacus is clowning around doing a line from Help. I'm going to miss the sacrifice. Kylie. Help is a lot of fun. Do I think the Beatles albums have become oversaturated? Yes. Now let's move on quickly. Yeah. I get beatled out. Like I keep saying to everybody, I get beatled out. You might want to ask Beetle Vinyl 85 that question, Jennifer. Go. A great Clang impersonation I did, huh? Yeah. Was I ever into bagism? Only safely. Yeah, I saw your question, Julio, but I don't want everybody going taking my stuff. You know what I mean? Come on. I saw the question. What's a band or artist I listen to that's opposite of the Beatles? I guess the Rolling Stones. That's pretty much opposite. Hello, we got Robert S. on here. What's my favorite Ringo album cover? Oh, I don't know off the top of my head. I always like Ringo the Fourth with the girl sitting on his shoulders. I always like that. Uh, the Ringo album, self-titled album. Wow, this is going along pretty well. 52 minutes. Whew. I only plan on doing this for an hour. It's very hard when you got like over 100 people like writing a lot of questions. You really can't keep up this pace for more than an hour. Oh, I'm getting impression requests. Usually, whenever I do one of these chats, people want me to do impressions. I can't. I'm not going to do the old lady request though. I don't think so. No, Robert, I didn't look into that yet. You were asking me about looking into a Blondie and Joan Jett song, "Do More Destiny." Have not looked into it yet. I'm sorry. So many things. Wings at the Speed of Sound or Memory Almost Full? Well, I guess I'd have to go. Uh, Memory Almost Full, but I love a couple of songs more off, by themselves off Speed of Sound. That's the problem. My Bud Abbott impression. Lou, I was a loafer. My father was a loafer, and I was a loafer. That's me doing Bud Abbott from the TV show when he's older. You know. The I Want to Hold Your Hand movie, Tim. Well, I like the I Want to Hold Your Hand movie, and if you look for a review, look at me and my friend Annie did a video. Just look for a review of I Want to Hold Your Hand, and you'll find the video. We go through the whole movie. Thank you very much. Dolores Huntington says I come highly recommended by Rossi73, a great guy. I'm glad you like my content, but I hope you'll catch up with the videos like you say, but just make sure you're careful because I also do a lot of silly videos. In between all the good music videos, there's rants. If you like rants, where I rant about all kinds of things that I don't like. So I can't do a George Martin impression. So I sat on top of this. I can't do his voice. I can do his mannerisms, but I don't sound like George Martin. So I sat on top of the stool, and they did "She Loves You," and they hit this very different chord at the end. And they said, "Amazing that nobody's ever heard that before." Of course, I heard it many times before. That's what that's more like the mannerisms, but not you know. Yes, Elliot, I did see Let the Good Times Roll. I went to the movie theater to see American Graffiti. I think it played with American Graffiti. My mother took me. It was a double feature. Let the Good Times Roll with American Graffiti, or it might have been the Lords of Flatbush. I get them mixed up. I saw the Lords of Flatbush and so on. Yes, Dolores, I like to think I have a great sense of humor. So if Rossi told you that, he's right. I did not go to the FMU record show. I still have not been to a FMU record show. Uh, and by the way, if you're still listening, Julio, that song was excuse me, that store that you were asking about is Mr. Cheapo's in Mineola. No, John, I have not. Another magazine with a John Lennon story. So much stuff. Where would I rank Paul's Flaming Pie? Right now, I have it in the top five. The last time I ranked Paul's album and did a video of it, and that's going back about I want to say 5 or 6 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago. I definitely uh put Flaming Pie in the top five. I don't know if I still would, but it's up there. It's up there. So we're just going to be on here for a few more minutes, folks. Johnny Hawk, you're asking me if I would put Flaming Pie in the top five? You, a person, and I mean this all in kidding, my friend, who puts Paul's Pipes of Peace at number one? Favorite Stones albums. Out of Our Heads, I always say is one of my favorite. The U.S. album. I also like Some Girls. Some Girls is probably an album I can play all the way through. You know. Not only do I do that, Johnny Hawk, but I also put the album New by Paul in the top five also. So you got New and Flaming Pie in the top. Well, I try to mix it up. I think I have Ram in there, uh, Ram and Venus and Mars, and but I think these days I might put Back to the Egg in the top five too. So, Dolores, it's impossible, excuse me, to speculate what John was doing. Would he be involved in politics? You would think so, but there's no way. No, John was always so different. He's always changing. So there's so much speculation, and sadly, that's all it can be is speculation because we don't have him here anymore. Chaos and Creation in the Backyard, I'd put probably in the top 10. Yeah, this has been a very lively chat. Now, what I'm going to do, folks, is I'm going to sign off for now. I only want this to be about an hour, and the reason I say that is because I'm going to leave this as a video. This is going to be a permanent video. It's going to be in my series that I call Catch Up with Mayo. Cute, isn't it? That's why there's a lot of questions and answers. But after I sign off here, if you want, I can come back. If anybody wants to talk afterwards, I'll be back, but it won't be a video. What do you think? So I'm just going to say to everybody, thank you very much, Joe. You are the best, Joe Mayonnaise. That's it. You know what's funny? I like when a lot of people, a lot of trolls, they go, okay, mayonnaise, as if like that's an insult. It's supposed to be mayonnaise. Me, Mr. Mustard, me, Mr. Mayonnaise. Ha ha. Oh, that hurts. Ouch. Ooh, ah. Anyway, folks, thanks for being here. We had some fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Kit. Kit O'Toole was here. I was hoping you'd pop by, Kit. You know, what we really got to do is try to get Ken Michaels to come here, but I realized Ken is a very busy man too, so probably not. But it was very much fun. Good to see y'all, and we'll do this again hopefully sooner rather than later because the last time I had one of these hour-long catch up with Mayo uh, frenzies was a year and a half ago. So talk